Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal Public Affairs program. I'm Jerry Williams. Well, today you're going to hear more of my coverage of the 2025 Uncompromised Comedy Convention that took place in McDonough, Georgia. You're going to be hearing from Executive Director of the CCA, that's the Christian Comedy Association, David Pendleton. But first up is stand-up comedian Leland Clausen.
So I've been doing comedy 29 years or something like that, a long time. And I had got connected with the CCA, Christian Comedy Association, back in 2003, maybe, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian, and so Christian Comedy Association. I'm in Canada.
Yeah.
I heard about this association that was just starting up down. It was in California, so I went down and just had a bunch of people that have encouraged me ever since, and great brothers in Christ, and it's the body. Like, I had comedians that understand comedy and what it's like to do that, and then I had Christian friends who understand the walk, but nobody who knew both of those worlds until I went to the CCA. And then to get to the LOLGCA, I went to that conference, man, that was only like 3-4 years ago, and just met a whole new group of people that I'd never met before. And I had a couple I'd kind of worked with a little bit. Fantastic folks. You find your tribe, right? And it was here's two tribes that I found. And then they started to work together, and I knew folks from both because I had been to both. And so they just wrote me in. I asked a question, and they're like, okay, we'll see you at the meeting next Monday. And I was in.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, it was good, though.
What is your passion?
For any viewers out there, no one got shot.
Right.
That was somebody dropped a table.
Down goes Frazier.
Yeah.
Down goes Frazier.
Exactly.
So they showed a film clip of you earlier today. So what is your passion more? Doing stand-up, film?
I like storytelling.
Okay.
I like telling stories, and that's kind of why it's increasing in what I'm doing. But my first love is stand-up. I'm always going to do that, no matter what I do in filmmaking. But I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories, and filmmaking is another avenue to do that.
So what kind of stand-up do you do? I know there's observational, there's political, there's self-deprecating, there's all kinds of styles.
Yeah, I make a lot of fun about myself because I got big hands.
He does.
Yeah, and so that's how I started, just making fun of myself all the time.
Yeah.
But it did turn into more stories. Like, I just kind of was talking about all the stupid things I do, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, that's another bit. Here's another bit. Because I do a lot of dumb things, so it's an endless amount of material. I became more of a storyteller as I went on in doing stand-up.
Well, you're funny. I love your style, your timing. How long you been walking with the Lord now?
I got saved at a really young age. I was actually 7. But I'll tell you what, I was on the farm where we grew up. We were living in the garage then because we hadn't built the house yet. Even though I was 7, I think about Jesus talking about how the kids come to, that's what the kingdom's about. I know I was called because I wouldn't have gotten there at 7 on my own. I was just like, all of a sudden I had these questions, and so I started talking to my brother and my sister and then my mom, and then she said, well, do you want to give your life to Christ? And now here's the thing, that's still a very juvenile faith, right? So as I've grown and matured, obviously I've grown in my faith too, and my understanding of God and His plan for me and for mankind.
Well, God bless you. Thank you so much. And
Empty Nets is the movie. Do I do a plug? Is how I do at the end of this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Empty Nets. You go out and see it in theaters or wherever it is.
Empty Nest.
Nets.
Empty Nets.
Like fishing nets.
N-E-T-S, folks.
Like
someone want to
Galilee.
Check more of you. How can they?
LelandClausen.com. 1 E in Leland. Just search Big-Handed Guy on YouTube and you'll find me.
Big-handed, tall guy.
Big-handed comedian, you'll find me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And you mentioned the CCA, which is the Christian Comedy Association.
Yeah.
And speaking of the CCA, over to your left and to my right, we have the president, David Pendleton.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something, Leland. What did you say your first love is?
Jesus.
Not what I heard.
Safe answer.
Yeah, no. What I said was my third love is comedy, Jesus, my wife, then stand-up comedy.
Okay, I just, keeping it real. Keeping it real.
Talking about being spiritually correct. How you doing, David? David Pendleton, the president of the CCA, man.
Actually, we used to have a board where we had a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, all that. We don't kind of structure ourselves that way, so officially I would be the executive director.
Of the
Christian Comedy.
Well, talk about the history of the CCA and the backstory. How it all began.
So the backstory is it started in 2001. I was actually not a part of that, what I call the charter group, the original group.
Yeah, the founders. Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, I got to ask, what year?
2003.
Oh, same with me.
Yes.
We started the same. Okay.
We started the same.
I didn't make it to executive director, though.
Yeah, but I'm happy to make you executive director. I got involved, yes, in 2003. Met Leland, and I heard Leland talking about how when he came, it was like, oh yeah, this is my tribe. And we all kind of have a similar story where we were out doing comedy. I was actually on staff with Campus Crusade for Christ, so I was working as a missionary, but I had specialized as a missionary with Campus Crusade, and so I was doing my ventriloquist act as an outreach strategy, making my act available to Campus Crusade ministries, but then it expanded to ministries outside of Campus Crusade, basically doing evangelism. So that's my comedy history and also my connection with the CCA specifically.
You've been doing ventriloquism for how long now?
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's very good.
Oh, I focused.
Yes. Yeah, I started learning ventriloquism when I was 6 years old.
So I was finding Jesus, and you were playing with puppets.
I was playing with puppets. And you know what? I will thoroughly own that because I didn't know Jesus at all. I know everybody's like, really? 6 years old? What on earth? How did you get started with it? And so I think my parents dropped me on my head when I was a baby, and so that's kind of what started it. But actually, I was fascinated by puppets as a kid, and I saw one of those slot jaw mouth ventriloquist dummies, you know what I mean, with the mouth that just kind of drops open hard, not like a sock puppet, but full-bodied ventriloquist dummy puppet. And my grandmother gave me a toy one of those when I was 6 years old, and she also gave me a record, How to Be a Ventriloquist.
Wow.
And I listened to that record over and over and picked it up.
I was amazed that, I did not expect any ventriloquism at this Christian comedy conference.
Oh, wow. I should be offended by that.
There's not two, but there was three.
Yeah, that's true.
I was amazed at that.
Well, okay. So,
in one room.
So I'm not going to say that I was 100% responsible for that. On the other hand, I also attend, and I have been attending, a ventriloquist convention, which is not a Christian thing.
Yes.
It's just what we have in common is that we're all ventriloquists.
Right.
While attending that convention, I met Willie Brown, who attended that convention. It was there at that ventriloquist convention that I invited him to come. I let him know that there's this thing called the CCA. Similarly, Tansy, who you're talking about, Tansy and her husband David, also attended that ventriloquist convention, and I told them about this.
Oh, you're the guy. You're reining them in,
man. Yeah. Kind of hesitate to even say that because I don't want other folks to think that the ventriloquists are taking over.
If we get a fourth one next year, you'll be like, and where did David find you? That's we know it was him.
Brad Stein used to do a joke in his act where he talked about how he would tell somebody that he was a Christian comedian, and the response would be, "Oh, you're a Christian comedian? Where's your puppet?"
Wow.
Which was just this kind of cliche joke. Okay. People would always look at me whenever he said that.
What, David Pendleton, executive director? Is that what you want to go?
Yeah. Whatever you want to call me, it's fine.
So, where were you born and raised?
I grew up in Urbana, Ohio.
And where are you now?
I am now in Indianapolis, actually Fishers, Indiana, which is a northern suburb of Indianapolis.
And how long you been walking with the Lord now, you say?
I gave my life to Christ in high school, but really, I would say, started walking with the Lord when I was in college.
So if anyone want to reach out and see what you do or learn more about the CCA, how can they?
Well, to find me, if they can't remember my name, generally I'm still going, because there's not very many of us, I'm still going to come up fairly high on a Google search. If you just search Christian ventriloquist.
That's right.
But
rare birds.
But if you Google my name, David Pendleton, ventriloquist, my website will generally come up. My tag was David Pendleton, making you believe anything can talk. And so my website is anythingcantalk.com.
From the 2025 Uncompromised Comedy Conference, he's David Pendleton and Leland Clausen.
Yep.
God bless you guys. Keep fighting the good fight of faith. And you guys are doing a great job at what you do.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
And you're going to hear more of my coverage next week from the 2025 Uncompromised Comedy Convention. If you would like more information about what you heard today, call WIHS 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049. I'm Jerry Williams for the WIHS Journal. It's news and public affairs.